I used to think I could read him like a book. 3 years together. You learn someone's rhythms. How they breathe when they're happy. How their voice drops when they lie. How silence changes shape when it's hiding something. His name was Mark. We met at a friend's barbecue. Nothing romantic at first, just that easy spark that makes you want to stay a little longer. He was confident without being loud, funny without trying too hard. The kind of man who made you believe you were safe just by being near him. We started dating a few weeks later. At first it was perfect, the kind of perfect that makes you ignore small cracks. He'd bring me coffee before work, leave notes in my bag. He'd text goodnight every single evening, like a habit he didn't want to break. And maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. Because when you love someone, you mistake patterns for loyalty. It started small missed calls, late replies, excuses that sounded too polished. He said work was crazy, that he was under pressure, that I was overthinking. And I believed him. Because love makes you choose ignorance over evidence. One night I called and he didn't pick up. Not once. Not the next morning either. He texted later. Sorry, fell asleep early. Except I'd seen his location. He wasn't home. That's when I started to notice things I'd missed before. Perfume that wasn't mine, receipts for dinners I never had, his phone always face down. When I asked, he smiled that tired smile men give when they're about to gaslight you. You're imagining things, he said. Don't turn into one of those girlfriends. So I didn't. I turned into something worse, quiet. Silence can be a weapon or a wound, depending on who wields it. For me it became both. For weeks I said nothing. I watched. I listened. And then one Saturday afternoon I got proof, not from him but from the world. A friend sent me a photo from a bar across town. There he was. His hand on another woman's back. Leaning close, smiling the way he used to with me. It wasn't even the physical part that broke me. It was the comfort. The ease. The way he looked like someone who'd already moved on. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in my car and stared at that photo until my hands stopped shaking. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to beg for an explanation. I was going to write one. The next day I acted normal. Made him breakfast, kissed him goodbye. He didn't notice the way I looked at him, like someone studying a stranger. He thought he was clever. That's the thing about liars. They mistake your patience for blindness. That evening when he left for his meeting, I waited 10 minutes, then followed him. He drove across town. Same bar. Same woman. I didn't go inside. Didn't need to. I just watched from the parking lot. And then I saw it, his car parked under a flickering streetlight. Black sedan, freshly waxed, spotless. He loved that car more than most people. And that's when the idea came, not out of rage but from something colder. Something that whispered, let him feel seen. I didn't do anything that night. I just went home, sat on the couch and stared at the wall until the sun came up. It wasn't anger that kept me awake, it was clarity. The kind of sharp, quiet awareness that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. By morning the plan was already there. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to make sure he remembered what he'd done every single day he walked out of his house. The next afternoon, I stopped by a hardware store. Bought 2 cans of bright red spray paint, a roll of painter's tape and a cheap pair of gloves. Nothing fancy. Nothing traceable. The cashier didn't even look up when he rang me out. That night, I waited until he fell asleep. He was on the couch, phone in hand, half a beer left on the table. I looked at him for a long time, not because I missed him but because I wanted to memorize what guilt looks like when it still thinks it's safe. Then I took his keys from the counter and left. The street was empty, quiet except for the hum of streetlights. His car sat under that same yellow glow, polished like a mirror. He loved that thing more than he ever loved me. He used to spend hours washing it, vacuuming it, parking it away from everyone else's at the store so no one would scratch it. Perfect. I slipped the gloves on. The metal of the spray can was cold in my hand. When I shook it, the sound echoed like a warning. The first line I painted was small, shaky. Then another longer. And then I wrote the word that had been sitting in my throat for weeks. Liar. The red bled across the black paint like blood. It wasn't enough. So I wrote another word. Cheater. Then another. until the car looked like a confession written by the person who'd been too cowardly to give one. When I stepped back, I realized I wasn't even shaking anymore. There was no rush, no thrill. Just stillness. It was almost peaceful. I left the keys on the hood, walked home before anyone could see me. The next morning, I didn't check my phone. I didn't need to. By 9 a.m., he called. Then again. Then again. Finally, I picked up. "What the hell did you do?" His voice was breaking. "What do you mean?" I asked. "My car. Someone vandalized my car. It's ruined." "Maybe they were trying to tell you something," I said. "You're insane." "Maybe. But at least I'm honest." Then I hung up. By noon, the photo was everywhere. Someone had posted it online. "Cheater gets what he deserves, local drama." Dozens of comments, laughing emojis, guesses about who did it. He hated attention when it wasn't flattering. I watched from my desk at work, sipping coffee. He texted again that night. "You embarrassed me. Everyone saw it. You had it coming. You're pathetic." The last one came hours later. "You win." No, I thought. This wasn't about winning. It was about ending. 2 days later, he came to my apartment. He didn't knock. Just started yelling through the door. "You think you're better than me? You think this makes you strong?" I didn't answer. He kicked the door once, then left. I waited a few minutes, then stepped outside. In the parking lot, his car sat there, ugly and raw, the paint still half visible under the wash marks where he tried to clean it. No matter how hard he scrubbed, the outline of those words stayed faintly visible. You can't erase truth. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No nightmares, no wondering where he was, no checking my phone at 3 a.m. Just silence. And the silence felt like justice. The funny thing about revenge is that you imagine it will feel like fireworks, loud, bright, final. But the truth is quieter. It doesn't explode. It settles. The morning after the photo went viral, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from friends, coworkers, even people I hadn't talked to in years. "Is this him? Did you do this? Good for you." I didn't reply to any of them. Let them think whatever they wanted. Sometimes silence tells a better story than words ever could. By the end of the week, he'd become a joke. His car, the thing he used to brag about, was now a meme. People at his job saw it online. Someone even screenshotted his license plate and tagged him. He quit social media that same night. I heard from a mutual friend that he'd been called into a meeting at work. Apparently, his boss didn't appreciate the attention. The company had a reputation to uphold. He was given some time off. Corporate talk for "don't come back." I didn't feel proud. Not really. I just felt done. A week later, I ran into him at the grocery store. He looked smaller somehow, unshaven, eyes heavy, that fake confidence stripped away. He saw me, froze, then turned to walk the other way. I could have let him go. But I didn't. "Hey, Mark," I said. He stopped. Didn't turn around right away. When he did, he tried to smile. "You made your point." "Did I?" I said. He exhaled through his nose, looking down. "You could have talked to me." I laughed. "You mean like you talked to her?" He flinched. Didn't say a word. Then he whispered, "You ruined my life." "No," I said. "You ruined mine first." I just returned the favor artistically. He didn't respond. Just walked away, pushing the cart like a man with nowhere to go. For a long time after that, I avoided that part of town. Not because I was afraid of him, but because I didn't need to see what was left. Revenge has a way of staining you if you stare at it too long. But fate doesn't care about what you avoid. It brings things back when you least expect them. One evening, a few months later, I was driving home from work when I saw him again, on the side of the road at a gas station. His car was still the same one. New paint, same model, but if you looked closely, you could still see faint red lines bleeding through the black. No one else would notice. But I did. It looked like regret burned into metal. He didn't see me. I parked across the street, watched him fill his tank. He looked tired, older. He kept glancing around as if expecting someone to laugh. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I started the engine and drove off. At home, I poured a glass of wine and sat by the window. I thought about everything that had happened, the lies, the photo, the paint, the aftermath. And for the first time it didn't feel like revenge anymore. Felt like closure. He'd lost everything that made him feel invincible. His pride, his reputation, his image. And me? I'd found something better. Peace. A few weeks later I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just one sentence written in his handwriting. I hope you're happy now. I folded it once, then twice, and dropped it in the trash. As I was. It's been almost 2 years since that night with the red paint. 2 years since I stopped mistaking pain for love. 2 years since I stopped apologizing for wanting the truth. People still ask if I regret what I did. If I'd go back and handle it differently. Sometimes I think about it, how it looked, how loud it must have been for him, how public. And then I remember how small I felt standing in front of that picture of him with another woman. Realizing I'd been made a fool. That moment didn't happen quietly. So no, I don't regret giving my pain a voice that couldn't be ignored. After the paint, I expected guilt to come for me. But it didn't. It never did. What came instead was space. Space in my mind. Space in my days. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone else to choose me. I started running again. Adopted a dog from a shelter. Painted my apartment walls white and threw away the old couch he used to sleep on. Little things that made the silence feel like mine again. Sometimes I'd hear about him through people we used to know, that he'd moved out of town, that he was working odd jobs, that he still drove the same car. Once a friend showed me a photo of it. Fresh coat of paint, new color. But in the sunlight, I could still see the faintest shimmer of red beneath the gloss. Like truth trying to find its way back to the surface. That's when I realized revenge fades. Consequences don't. Last month I ran into him again. It was random. A grocery store on the other side of town. I was in the produce aisle reaching for oranges when I heard his voice. I turned and there he was, older, thinner, eyes sunken but soft. He froze when he saw me. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he said, "You look good." "Thanks," I said. He nodded slowly. Like he wanted to say something else but couldn't find the words. Finally he said, "You know, I deserved it." I didn't say anything. He smiled, small, tired, and walked away. I stood there for a long time, holding those oranges, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not victory. Not vindication. Peace. That night I drove home with the windows down. The air smelled like rain. When I pulled into my driveway, I looked at my reflection in the car window. Just me, calm, alive. And it hit me. The revenge wasn't the paint. It was the life I built after it. The part he never got to ruin. I didn't just mark his car that night. I marked the end of the version of me that accepted less than honesty. The version that waited for someone else to do the right thing. Now I wake up every day knowing I don't owe anyone silence. Not anymore. So when people ask what happened to him, I just smile and say, he learned what red looks like when it's the truth. And that's enough.